Okay, so we should be good with recording now. If anybody's got, oopsie, hang on. Okay, so we got the recording going. So if anybody's got any questions as we go along, as always, just make sure that you let me know, okay? So this is going to be the office hours for the final, it's the final homework. It's the final office hours of the final course in the whole Healthcare Analytics Certificate Program. So if you haven't already given yourself a pat on the back, please do, because this is a lot of work. It's something that really, you guys have put a ton of time into. You have hopefully learned a lot, and we've hopefully greatly expanded your skill set when it comes to data analytics. This program is pretty unique in the country, so it's something, when it was designed to take a lot of work and try to pack the most amount of information and the highest level of skill sets into something that could be accomplished in a few years. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at our assignments. I have gotten a few questions on that, but as always, if you think of something, please ask a question for clarification. This is also your chance to ask me anything you can think of around data analytics, anything around any of the classes and the courses, pretty much anything you can, anything you've always wanted to ask, this is your chance to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and get our assignment up here in just a second, maybe. Okay, I don't know what happened to everybody, but my computer just rebooted itself for no reason. So I'm going to try to get everybody back here. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, can you guys hear, see? I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, my browser, like everything just went crazy. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. I don't know what happened. That was just nuts. All of a sudden, I didn't get a black screen. My whole screen went gray. I've never had that happen before. Anybody know what a gray screen is? I've had the black screen of death before many times, but not this. This was a little bit, okay. This was a little interesting. So we're going to try to restart my recording because I don't know if it's recording now. Okay, we'll see what happens. I guess, so it's been recording this entire time, so I don't know where you all went and what you saw. So anybody who's watching this, hopefully you just skipped that bit of it because I don't know what happened. That was really crazy. Okay, we're going to go ahead and try again to look at our assignments and see what happens. Just a moment. Okay, can everybody see the assignment? I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened with that. Okay, let me know if you can't see the assignment. Okay. Okay, awesome. Thank you for bearing with me. That was just totally crazy. I have never, ever in my life had a gray screen, completely gray screen. Anyways, okay, so in homework 5, if you should have already looked at it. Some of you might be close to being done with it. But really what I'm looking for in this last assignment is we're kind of doing a flipped classroom for this last assignment. And so what you have is you should have 2 documents that you were downloading, okay? One document is a project that was kind of a, just a project that was submitted, for example, okay, an example project. So you've got this project that you're looking at, you've got a project proposal. It's kind of like what you guys submitted for the last assignment for homework 4. Okay, but in this time, because we've got the flip going on, you guys are going to do the analysis this time. Okay, so if you think about everything you've learned in all 4 courses up to this point, you are going to be doing an analysis of a project proposal. So what you need to do to start out with this is you want to come up with a form. So come up with a project analysis form. I do not have a required format because I know that some facilities have certain formats for different types of forms. So there isn't a required format. It can be in Excel, it can be in Word, it cannot be a combo of those 2 things, okay? It needs to have all the components of a project proposal as we've discussed throughout this course, okay? So think about what kind of feedback you guys have gotten on your own assignments, okay? Think about what I've talked about in the different office hours. What have I said in the weekly class emails? Okay, what have we covered in the discussion questions? So the requirement, I'm going to be looking, so the first thing I'm going to be looking at when I'm doing your grading is, in your form, do you have all the components of the project proposal? If something is missing, I will let you know. Okay, so you're not going to get to the end of this assignment and not have a clue if there's something that you should have had in your form that you didn't have. Okay, so it can be, you want to think about using this, setting up this form so that you've got it as a reference going forward. Okay, so I'm going to try to open Word and we're going to try to make a list of some of the things here. Fingers crossed that this does not cause everything to crash again. That was crazy. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so we're going to try to hang on. I'm going to unshare PowerPoint. Maybe I'll unshare PowerPoint if the computer lets me unshare PowerPoint. Thank you. I had to be nice to it now that it shut me down. Okay, everybody should see Word. Let me know if you don't see a blank document. There's nothing on it yet. I got to make some giant text here. Okay, awesome. Cool. Okay, so we're going to make our list. The things you want to have in your project proposal, right? You need to have you got to have your form. Okay, so what do you want in your form? You want to make sure, whoopsies, we don't need it that far. It should be, think of it as a reference. So think of it as you are creating a reference for yourself to use going forward. So I know in the discussion, you guys have talked a lot, there's been a lot of discussion around projects that you've either been part of the project team, or maybe you've been part of the implementation team, or you've just seen it done, right? So all of those, as we've gone through the course, you've talked about either things that were missing or things that have been done well. right? So think of this form that you're creating as a reference to evaluate projects, okay? As we talked about in the very beginning of this course, this course is called Healthcare Project Analysis. Okay, so you're going to create this reference to evaluate or analyze a project. Okay, so you want to have it set up so that it's something that you can reuse, okay? So again, sort of like we did the case study, we created that case study format in course 3, kind of the same thing here. You're going to create this form. Now that we've covered all the discussion, we've had 7 weeks to look at different types of project components. You're going to create this form as a reference to evaluate projects, okay? So you want to have, think of what the lecture topics were, what the discussion questions were. I can't spell this morning either. Think of the what to submit list. Okay, think of the key points in the lecture. All right, so these are all things to jump off, so to get you started. Okay, think of the lecture topics. Think of the, whoopsies, undo that. Think of, all those different things. So these are some ideas to get you started. Think of your lecture topics, what the discussion questions were, your what to submit list for your assignments. Think of the key points in the lectures, things that we talked about in, topics in office hours, all sorts of things. Okay. One thing I do want to say, and I'm going to put this in capitals. So, if you submit if you submit a Lean Six Sigma project form, that will not be enough. Okay, so I really want to emphasize this. If all you do is submit a Lean Six Sigma project proposal form, it will not be enough. Okay, we covered not to say that Lean Six Sigma is bad, because it's not. It's excellent. There are so many great things about it. But we have actually covered a lot more in this course and also in course 2 than would be in a Lean Six Sigma project form. So if all you submit is a Lean Six Sigma project proposal form, it will not be enough. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay, because somebody asks me that every single semester, and it will not be enough. So think about all this stuff that we, whoopsies, undo that. Think about all this stuff that I listed here. There's going to be a lot more. There should be a lot more to it than just a standard Lean Six Sigma project proposal form. Now, if you use this as your starting point, that's one thing, okay? But if all you submit is a Lean Six Sigma project proposal form, it will not be enough. And I know there are several people who have belt training that are in the course. So this is why I also wanted to bring it up, because somebody asks me every single year why they can't just submit a Lean Six Sigma form, because it will not be enough. So I'm looking for more than is on that Lean Six Sigma form, okay? Once in a blue moon, I've had somebody submit something that's kind of Lean Six Sigma that has more of the components in it, but that has been extremely rare. So think about, you can use this as a starting point, but it's not going to be enough if that's all you turn in, okay? So I want to really kind of like put that out there. Okay, so what I would suggest, and when we look over here at our what to submit list, I have the project analysis form first. My recommendation is create the form first, then do the analysis. If you try to do it the other way around and create the form as you're analyzing, it's going to be really hard, and you're going to use a lot of extra time. So do the form first, then do the analysis. So you need to submit a form and you need to submit analysis, okay? So what exactly does that look like? Okay, now we'll move this out. Okay, so the analysis. So what exactly am I talking about with analysis here? Okay, so what you need to have is so one of the questions Mike's got here is, so similar to the items in the what to submit list. So that's one of the reasons. That's exactly why I put, you know, look at the what to submit list. Okay, you're on the right track if you're asking, much like the items in the what to submit list for homework 4, definitely on the right track. Okay, so that's where I'm going with, you know, think of your lecture topics. Think of key points in the lectures. You know, what did we cover? You know, there are a few things I pointed out in office hours that we talked about. Okay, so this is definitely, Mike, you're definitely on the right track. Also, if you look at, everybody should have their feedback form or feedback form. Everybody should have their feedback file for assignment 4 in your gradebook. If you don't have your feedback file and you submitted something, please, and there's no comments as to on anywhere for you, please send me an email and let me know. So go ahead and look at that. Look at your feedback file, because I also made comments there that should help you with your form. Okay, so if you're missing something in your homework 4 and I've called it out, that's probably should be a red flag that, hey, maybe I want to have this in my form, because she said I was missing this in my own project proposal. Okay, so think about that too. Okay, so yeah, Mike, you're definitely on the right track with that. Good question, good thinking. Okay, so in the analysis part, you need to use your form to do the analysis. Okay, so when you're doing that, okay, when you're using your form to do the analysis, there are every semester I get questions on, well, so, you know, how do I submit this, or what should I submit? So there are a couple of different formats. Okay, so format options for submitting. And I did put this in, I think I put it in week 7 email. I don't know if I can't remember if I put it in the one I sent out yesterday. But I did put it in week 7 for sure. I think I put it in yesterday as well. So format options would include, you can have a blank form. Okay, you can have a filled in form. And then you can have a summary analysis. Okay. You could also have, so these are options. You can choose from these choices. Okay, you can just have a filled in form and a summary. You can have a filled in form that includes, oops, I can't type capital. Okay, that includes a space for the summary analysis. So, I'm sorry, I needed to drink some coffee. I've got a tickle in my throat, and after I talk too much, I start coughing. So I'm trying to limit that. So for example, these are 3 documents. Okay, this is 2 documents. One document. Okay. You can also do this form option, this one document option. You can have this. Here, we'll do this. You can also have this. And then you'd have one that is, you'd have a blank version and filled out version. So that would be 2 documents. Does that make sense? So as long as you submit it all in PDF, I don't care which way around you do these. Okay. Some people like to have a cover sheet for the has a summary analysis. So I've seen ones where you have a cover, like a cover kind of executive summary space for the summary analysis. And then you have the like the filled in form with all the details as an attachment, and then like another summary at the end. So that's another kind of way to do it. But these are all different options. Okay. So what I'm looking for is I need to see some sort of form, whether it's filled in or not. Okay. Then I need to see a summary analysis. Okay. So when we're looking at this in your analysis, because here's your form has to include the components of a project proposal, right? We talked about those all throughout the course. We talked about that up here, in the section up here, right? Okay, in your analysis part, the analysis is going to be a little bit more than just the components, okay? So I need to know, does it have all the key components? If you've done a good job with your form, you should be able to check that one off, check that box easily. You need to identify in your analysis, is there anything missing? Did we miss anything? Is there something missing? Is there something that you expected to see that was not listed? Okay, so this kind of should sound a lot like what I give you guys for feedback files, right? So far, you need to identify in your analysis what would be decision factors for the project. How would you decide whether or not this is a good project, whether or not we should do this project? Should we table it? Should we just axe it? Does it need, more work? Okay, so what kind of decision factors? Also, this is a place where if you already have decision factors for projects at your location, so I know a lot of locations, one of the key things that projects have to have are, as a decision factor, is it meeting the mission, right? That's a big one. Does it meet one of this year's facility goals? Does it meet any of the VA, like VA, national VA, any of the larger VA priorities, right? So does it meet any of the Secretary of the VA's priorities? Is it anything that's on your focus list for your location this year? Does it need to have a cost analysis? I'm kind of brainstorming here. So there's a lot of different things at each facility that people look at when they talk about decision factors for determining a project. So this is a place where if you've got something specific that you guys utilize at your own facility or in your vision, put that in there, okay? If you want to have these decision factors, you need to tell me your thoughts on moving forward with this project. So what are you recommending we do? So in this, okay, so we're going to go back back over here, back under my sheet here. Okay, so in your analysis, your recommendation. So we need your recommendation. So your thoughts on moving forward, okay? So you can have things like what I have had in the past. Okay, so here. So this is options that I've had, but not all inclusive. So you can add more to these. I better put a close parentheses on here to be correct. Okay, so you can have, recommend. You can have recommend with reservations. I've seen recommend with additional info data provided. I've had, not recommend. I've had go back to the drawing board. Okay, so this is, you don't have to use all of these or even, these are just some types that I've had. I've had, let's see. I'll put as requested because that's sort of what it is. So, so give me a choice. Like, what is your recommendation? Like, what are you going to do with this project? What do you think we should do? I'm going to put. So recommend is let's get started ASAP. Recommend with reservations. Well, I think this would be a good idea, but maybe we need to let's wait a quarter and kind of see where we're at. Maybe recommend with additional information provided as requested. So maybe they were like over here, right? We talked about something missing, the missing info. So maybe it's a good project and it's a great idea, but they're missing some things, some components here that you've got. So maybe I'll recommend it if you can get me the additional information or, flesh out this data. Maybe I need some more info in the preliminary analysis. I'm not really clear on something. Maybe you just missed something. Maybe this is just, kind of a goofy idea and I don't understand, like this is a bad fit for our facility at this time. So we're not going to recommend it. Or maybe we need to, and you can come up with a fancier wording of this, but maybe it's, you got a great idea, but your proposal of how we're going to implement, your project approach needs to be rethought. So this is a great idea, let's go back to the drawing board and see if we can brainstorm another project approach that might allow us to better address the situation and really give give your idea the focus that it's due. But the way that it's put together right now is maybe not the best thing. Okay, so you need to come up with a recommendation. So your thoughts on moving forward. What do you think we should do with this? Okay, some people actually put, I've had people put lists like this, these recommendation lists in the decision factors part. Like a check, kind of like these are the choices and I'm going to check this one for a form option. Totally fine with me. You can do that. You don't have to do that. I've had people do it in the past, but it's not something that's required. As long as I know what your recommendation is, your thoughts on moving forward are, okay, and then tell me why. People forget the why a lot of the time. Why do you think this is, why are you making this recommendation? Why are you making the decision on what we should do next? Okay, what is your reason? So maybe the reason for your recommendation is, most likely it's going to be based on the decision factors. It might be based on what you think about your own experience, your own knowledge from your career in terms of whether this would be a good idea. Okay, so I might say something like, over the course of my career, I know that this type of project seems to be extremely successful. So I'm going to recommend, it looks like they've got all the key components of the project. I didn't see anything that was glaringly missing. And it fits in with the mission of my facility. And it also helps us accomplish one of the goals for the year. So I'm going to recommend that we move forward with this project. Go. Okay. So we need to have in your analysis part, you need to identify, are all the components there? If you've done a good job with your form, it should be a breeze there. Is there anything missing? Again, if you've done your form and done a good job with that, you should find that you should be able to easily see what's missing. Then, what are the decision factors for a project? How are you going to decide whether or not this is a project we should pursue or we should kind of axe it? Okay? Or should we table it for now and maybe go back to the drawing board? Well, then also your thoughts on moving forward with the project. Okay, what should we do next? And what are some reasons for recommendation? Why do you, tell me why. Tell me why you think this is, why we should go this direction with it. So that is what I'm looking for. Okay, so again, you can use your form, you can send me your form, submit your form in any of these versions. Okay, as long as I've got both the form and your analysis. Okay. So totally your call. I will be doing, and because when I'm doing the grading, I'm going to be grading the form itself, and then I'm also going to be grading the analysis to see, is there anything that I see in the proposal that is missing that you didn't catch? Is there anything that, did you tell me your recommendation, but you didn't actually tell me why you're recommending that? So, I'm going to be doing my grading both on the form and on your analysis. Okay, so hopefully that doesn't put a ton of pressure on everybody, right? It's the last assignment, so let's everybody go out with a great grade. Because like I said at the beginning, my goal is that everybody passes this class with flying colors. So, what other questions do you guys have on the assignment? You can ask questions on the assignment. You can ask questions on the lectures, on the discussion, on anything having to do with data analytics, anything you've ever wondered. We've got about a half an hour. And that's all the questions that I had in my email thus far. And again, you should all have your assignment. So if you do not have your assignment, if it's not showing that it is that you have a grade, there should either be comments there saying why, or you need to email me, okay? Because I tried to verify that I've got everything done. Okay, what else do you guys have? What other questions? Anybody? Okay, so Mike's got a question around in the analysis. Is it subjective to the terms of kind of what you think is wrong with assumptions? Yeah, I mean, any analysis is going to be subjective, right? To some extent. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to combine the affective, that isn't even a word. What you're trying to do is combine an objective version, okay, and it's somewhat objective. So that's where you're creating this form, right? And looking at the including the components of a project proposal. Okay, so first you're going to create the objective form and kind of say, in general, do you have the key pieces, right? Do you have them or do you not have them? Okay, so, and this is kind of what, this is how most professors or most teachers grade things in general, right? Is do you have the item on the checklist? Okay, do you have the item on the punch list, right? So if you create your form and you do a good job with creating your form, you're going to be able to do part of your analysis as an objective. Do they have this or not? Yes or no? Okay. If they do, okay, then, or if they don't, you're going to document this is missing. This component is missing. This piece is missing. If they do have it, now you're going to do a little bit of subjective analysis, okay, and you're going to take a look at it based on what you now know, okay? So your form is not going to have every single word of all of the lectures and everything you've read in the last 4 courses. At least I hope it isn't, because that's going to be a lot for me to look at. So what you're doing when you're creating a form, right, you're creating a somewhat objective list, but at the same time, you have to do some subjective analysis in terms of, you've got this component, but does this actually make sense with regard to what I would expect to see in it? Okay. So, for example, I'm hoping everybody has a list, a box or a check mark, a piece that says, are they identifying what the problem or question is? Right. That's the first thing. If we don't know the problem or question, why do we have a project? Right. Hopefully. So you can say that, right? And that's going to be on your form. Do they have a question or do they have the question or problem listed, outlined, however you want to say it, right? So that's going to be objective piece. Now your subjective analysis, which kind of gets at what you're asking, Mike, is it detailed enough for me to understand what is going on? Okay, so is it clear enough that I can see, oh, hey, this is the situation. This is what they're trying to look at. This is what this project is trying to remedy. This is what this project is trying to address. This is what we're trying to expand upon. Okay, so they might have a section that says problem or question, right? And that's going to be your objective piece from your form. But then your subjective analysis is going to take a look at that and say, okay, based on what I know about good projects, what we need for a good project, so based on that, and based on what I've learned as to what goes into a successful project, can I understand what they're trying to get at? Does it make sense? So it's subjective to that aspect. Is there, and I'm sure some of you have seen this, everybody, some people more than others, it kind of goes, but, did they get their grammar and their spelling in there? Okay. So, that way, so it's kind of a little of both, right? So you've got the objective, is it there, yes or no? And then based on, is it there, yes or no, is it what you expected? So to go kind of to what Mike's comment is here, like if the question or problem, if it's not listed as a title, like a separate line item, for example, but it's in the intro or the executive summary, okay, you have to decide, is the question or problem, is it outlined somewhere? Okay, so what you would say there is, if it is in the intro or the executive summary, you can mark off that yes, the question or problem is listed. Okay, it's identified. You might want to say though that you might have a comments area maybe in your form or in your analysis that says the question or problem was identified in the executive summary, but it would be helpful to others if it were called out specifically in a specific line item or in a heading or a specific paragraph. So it's it's not necessarily, it might not necessarily be titled there, and you can tell that that's what it is, and because when you're writing a project proposal, sometimes it makes sense to kind of have, here's your problem. But sometimes you want to be extra explicit and say, okay, here it is in the intro, and then I'm going to repeat it and say, so based on all of this, and based on my, background, et cetera, what we specifically want to address with this project is XYZ. Okay. So you might, as the analyzer, as the analyst of this project proposal that you're looking at, you might say, well, yes, you've got it in there, but I think it might be, I think you might have better success if you can also outline it in a separate piece. Okay. It kind of goes back to my 3-point approach for things like PowerPoint presentations, or like memo. Tell me what you're going to tell me in your intro. Tell me the items. Give me the items and the details, and then give me a conclusion. So summarize. Tell me what you just told me. So if you kind of think about it along those lines, Mike, that might help to determine kind of how you might approach it. So they might have an executive summary should be a summary of the specifics of the entire proposal, right? So an executive summary, 1 page, maybe like 1 1/4, 1 1/3, not much more than that, of what all the key points are. But then you should have more details in the main body of the paper or in the proposal report, what have you. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Okay, so what other questions do you guys have? That was a good question, because and that's something that's hard to do, because and this is your chance to ask me. You don't have to ask questions just on this assignment. You can ask me any questions about data analytics that you guys have wondered about since day one. So Mike's been had some good questions. Anybody else have any questions? Or you all think that you pretty much got it? You're good to go on everything, which is fine. I can give you some extra time to work on things, but I just want to make sure everybody's got questions answered. Anybody really like this stuff and kind of want to keep going with it? Because if you do, there are, there's not necessarily more data analytics courses, but a lot of some of the healthcare administration stuff that goes on is also something that you can kind of take a look at and work on towards master's degrees and things like that. So that would be something, if anybody's interested in moving, continuing with this, there's definitely something with that. Unfortunately, this is the last opportunity to take any of the HACP courses. So there are those additional classes are offered through Nebraska Methodist. There are some that are offered through Nebraska Methodist. I know other universities also offer, not a lot of them, but there are, like graduate classes in healthcare administration. So there's that. And they're not all not all of them are as intense as these were. And I will tell you that when we first started putting this together, I actually requested to try to do it, make all of these each of them a full 16-week semester, but the VA requested that we squash them. So, so there is that, and I will definitely say I get pushback from my spouse as well, from my husband, in terms of when I've got a lot of grading to get done. So I hear you guys there. But yeah, I think, it's something that I think is really important. I think you guys have shown throughout the courses, at least from the last 2 that I've taught with you guys, that you've improved your skill sets. Hopefully these courses have given you guys some things that are really useful and given you some new ways to kind of look at the data that you have. And, I don't know if it got said in the very first course, or even, the way that I look at it is the VA is, kind of one of those conundrums where you have so much data that it's a researcher's dream, but it's also kind of a nightmare, because there are so many cool things you could look at. And I know a lot of you got stuck down rabbit holes in course 3 where, oh, there's something shiny over here that looks really interesting. Maybe I'll try to do that. And then before you know, you've, not necessarily wasted an hour, but you didn't work on what you planned on working on for that last hour. So there's definitely, there's definitely that. And I'm glad, so hopefully the fact that this is the last course will kind of, kind of give everybody a break and a big thing. So, okay, so good question. So Wes has a good question. Things got changed with the update of My Methodist. So this is a great question. I'm glad you asked this, Wes, because that was actually on my list to try to make sure we do. So I'm going to put this out, and we're going to put it in writing. Okay, so to get your certificate. Okay, and this is for the whole HACP program. So please do it because you guys have earned it. Okay, so this is the hard copy version. Okay, so what you're going to do is step 1, finish the course. Okay, so finish the course. Step 2, okay, watch for the email. Then I'm going to send out, okay? So watch for the email that grades have been finalized. I try to get those turned around these final grades turned around in a week. Sometimes it takes me a week and a half, but I really try to get these turned around ASAP for everybody once the grading window is closed, okay? Sometimes if people are submitting things late, I can't send the final grades. I can't send the final grades to Nebraska, to Nebraska Methodist, until I get everybody's stuff done. Okay, so I also send an email/announcement out that grades have been finalized. Okay, that means your feedback file has been uploaded, your grades have been finalized, everything's been submitted to the college. Okay, so once that is done, once grades have been finalized, so a few days later, you're going to get an email from Nebraska Methodist, not from me. Okay, with the link, with the place to submit your name and address. Okay, you have 30 days to submit it. Okay, the sooner you do it, the sooner you get your certificate. Okay, so you have 30 days to submit it. In that email, there's also a place to submit feedback about the course. Okay, I'm hoping everybody, if you looked at the discussion question for this week 8, you'll kind of see that I actually put in, what's your favorite thing about the course, essentially, like what's the thing you're going to use the most? What do you like about it? So that is also in the discussion question, but you can submit feedback about all of the courses, about this course, about me as an instructor through this email, okay? And hopefully my computer's not going to reboot itself. It's doing weird things again. But once you get all that done, then you'll have 30 days to submit it. And any feedback that you submit through this link, through this email, is all anonymous. So anything that I see, it ends up being anonymous. So, if you want to send anonymous feedback, have at it. And then once you submit that, then it will be, you get your hard copy certificate in 6 to 8 weeks, because it takes a while to print them. Via mail, via snail mail, okay? So you're not going to get it in email. You will get an email once everything has been finalized here. You will get an email saying that, I don't know what, hang on a second. I lost you guys on chat, so just a second. I don't know where you went. I don't know why I can't see the chat now. Let me see it again. Oh, there you came back. I don't know what happened. Okay. So you'll get the hard copy certificate for snail mail. So there's 2 certificates, okay? So we'll do this. Okay, so there's 2 certificates. Okay. So one is the e-certificate for completing course 4. Okay, that's the one that you usually submit to your to HR to say that, hey, I finished this, or to training or whoever you submit it for in terms of the financial aspect. So you get an e-certificate for completing course 4. Print it off, have at it. But then you also get a hard copy, and it's actually really nice looking. You also get a hard copy certificate. So you also get a hard copy certificate saying that you've completed the entire Healthcare Analytics Certificate program. So you're actually getting 2. But number 2, you only get if you send your address. So you need your address, okay? Does that make sense? Did I just make that more confusing? Are you guys good with that? Does that make more sense now? Okay, cool. Yeah, so you'll finish the course. Right now, I'm assuming everybody's passing unless somebody really did, somebody screwed up something. Okay? Then watch for that email. I'm going to send an email saying grades have been finalized. Your feedback files have been posted. Check out the grade book. A few days later, I think it's a few days. They never tell me how long it takes. So I actually don't know because I don't get this email. You get an email from Nebraska Methodist that has the link in it to submit your name and address. It also has a place for you to put anonymous feedback. So, let us know how things went. You have 30 days to submit it. And then once the 30 days is up, I don't know if you can't get a certificate or what. So I suggest do it as soon as you get the email. Watch for that email. Then you'll get your hard copy certificate in 6 to 8 weeks, and they send it in a nice mailer and snail mail. So we're looking at probably, let's see, sometime end of March, early April is when you'd get your snail mail, your hard copy certificate. Okay, and that's the program certificate for completing the entire healthcare analytics program, not just the e-certificate that you guys submit for the tuition piece of it. That goes on file, with what you guys do for just your kind of general training things. Okay, does that make so? Hopefully that kind of gets things added up. So, okay, what other questions do you guys have? Hopefully you guys liked these courses. I always have fun. Grading. So it's something. Well, I really like data analytics, so that's pretty cool. And my little that was sick last week, turned out she wasn't actually fully sick. She's just cutting 4 teeth at once. So that has got to be not fun for anybody. So I almost rather she was sick because you can get it over with. When they're cutting teeth, you just gotta wait and wait and wait and wait. So yeah, I can't believe it's fun to get 4 teeth all at the same time. I don't know if anybody's got either a little one or if you've got somebody who's in early elementary school that's losing teeth and getting their adult teeth, but I gotta imagine it's kind of the same deal. I luckily do not remember that, and I just think back that nobody's gonna remember how hard it was to get teeth. So I feel bad, but you can only do so much. I cannot make them come in sooner. Oh well. But I guess being sick, at least it's not through different too many different things, because you can't spread cutting teeth. So the rest of the kids are doing okay. But yeah, so that so that's kind of a bummer. But we're getting things sorted out, and with all the snow that's gone through, it's just been all kinds of fun. So it's kind of it's always an adventure with kids. If anybody's got kids, had kids, grandkids, knows some kids, never an unending adventure, right? So I've got a few minutes left here if there's any questions. Otherwise, I do want to say thank you to everybody for calling into all the office hours and asking some great questions. And it has been a ton of fun for me to see what kind of projects you guys put together for your personal projects and how you do the different assessments, and even reading through the discussion posts. I hope you guys realize that I do actually read all of the discussion posts that you guys put up. So there's a lot of really interesting perspectives And one of the reasons why we tried not to limit the class to just one kind of area, if you will, in terms of staffing. So, to kind of get this mix. So I know there's, providers. I know we've got system redesign folks. I don't think this class has anybody in facilities. And we've had that before. We've got some folks who are on the financial end. It's just a way to kind of show that data analytics really applies no matter what part, what aspect of healthcare you're practicing in. So hopefully you guys learned a lot in these courses, in this program, and thanks a lot. And like I said, this is the last offering of this course, so we're not going to be having the HACP as it is anymore. So, yeah, if you and going forward, if there's questions that you guys have, definitely, definitely let me know, and I can do my best to answer them. So, if there aren't any additional questions from anybody, yes, hopefully, let me see if we can get this back. There we go. So yeah, if anybody has any additional questions as you're going through the assignment, putting things together, it is due next week, midnight, next Tuesday at midnight, just like we've had. Your discussion boards still due as well. And again, thanks for putting in the time, for sure. Thanks for putting in the time and effort. These courses are not easy, especially 3 and 4 are not easy. And you really should be proud of the fact that you've made it to week 8 of course 4. It's a huge undertaking. As a few of you guys have said, as Mike and Wes have said, it does impact your free time for sure. And I want to make sure that we kind of recognize that. So thanks everybody for calling in. If you have any other questions, definitely shoot me an email, and we will go from there. So thanks everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I hope that you are able to use the skills that you've learned throughout the HACP going forward. So thanks a lot, and we will possibly talk later. Have a great afternoon.